few years ago, Sam Ovens gave me some amazing advice around dealing with insecurities and dealing with imposter syndrome in my business. Now, throughout my time in business, I've been blessed to have some amazing mentors, some of which you would know if I said their names. Others, you wouldn't know so well, but they've always gave me great advice when I've needed it. So the clip that you're about to see next is taken from a few years ago where I was a bit more junior in my business, but at that time I'd actually started to see some consistent success. Rather than feeling achieved though, or accomplished or fulfilled, I actually started to feel quite uncomfortable and insecure in my own skin. Too many changes were going around. I started to get massive imposter syndrome. I started to wonder if I was even very good at it and started having all these self-sabotaging thoughts. But weirdly enough, around that time as well, I'd actually seen an interview of Sam Ovens from his earlier years of where he was talking about experiencing exactly the same thing. So I basically reached out to him and asked him how he dealt with this so he could help me deal with this as well. So this next clip you're going to watch is a bit of a long answer, so I've chopped it up a little bit just to make it a bit more viewable, but I hope you really enjoy it.
So Rob Lally says, I saw a great interview with you and Andrew Warner, part 2, and you spoke about how your mind was in constant battle with itself early on in your business. You explained that you were making so many changes to yourself that you felt incongruent with who you had become. I also get this feeling when prospects become interested in my service. What helped you overcome this? Yeah, so change is there's always friction. And so if we get really used to something, for example, just imagine like writing with your right hand, right? Like with a pen, it just flows kind of naturally. You go put that pen in your left hand and try write, and it's painful and it'll make you frustrated. Whenever you change anything, you feel that same friction, and it's normal. So if you're not an entrepreneur and then you become an entrepreneur, that's a pretty big change. Or if you're used to just being a solo business owner and then you start hiring employees, that's a big change. Like all of these changes, they bring a lot of friction, and they also cause like a bit of an identity crisis because you identify a lot with the old way of doing things. So as soon as you change that, you're going to have a lot of friction and you're going to kind of feel like an imposter, and that's normal. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that it's different. And the way to fix it is just time. So you just need to keep doing it. And the trick to doing it is doing it every single day. What you do every day starts to really just form and shape who you are. So, if you're going to meditate, you don't do it randomly, you do it every day. If you're going to eat well, you eat well every day, you sleep well every day. And over time, the things you do every day start to build really big things. So if you want to know how to overcome it, it's just daily repetition and consistency over time.
So what Sam was talking about there is any amount of change can create quite uncomfortable feelings in ourselves. Now picture you've got a rubber band, you've got it between your hands and you stretch it out like that. And what happens is the more you stretch out, the more the rubber band becomes uncomfortable, right? Picture the rubber band is you, and the further you stretch out, the more force is forcing it back in. And that's exactly the same thing which happens with human behavior. And you'd think that getting that level of success would make you happy, would make you feel more content, but actually what can happen is the transition from being the person you used to be, who's held down by all those insecurities, to being the person who you need to be to achieve your goals is actually quite painful and creates a lot of friction. And I've actually experienced this friction every single step of the way, from coming up with the business idea to reaching out to my first prospect to see if they wanted to do business with me. I remember hovering my hands over the keyboard and revising my first initial message to them 20 to 30 times and spending a good hour on it because I needed to get it just right, when in actual fact it doesn't matter that much. And then I also remember receiving messages from people who wanted to do business with me, and I remember freezing and being like, well, oh God, this is happening. And this is all just breaking through like the barriers of being uncomfortable. And this carried on going for me all the way from actually having my first sales call to actually closing my first high ticket client to actually having my first 5-figure month. And each step of the way, I remember questioning whether I was good enough. I remember questioning whether I knew enough, whether I was the type of person to help these people. I remember thinking maybe it would just be easier to go back to my past life and, have a full-time job, and because things were a lot easier there, you don't have to make as many decisions, and all these things were happening to me. And the more I looked into this, I realized that it didn't just happen to me, it actually happened to everyone as well, including some of my clients who were right on the edge of success. They would have almost this force holding them back from accomplishing their goals. I remember looking through some of my clients' messages to prospects one day, and I was like, this person wanted to do business with you and reached out to do business to you 5 days ago, but you didn't reply to them. Why is that? And they were talking about how busy they'd got as well. And in my head, I'm thinking, it's because you got uncomfortable. It's the same uncomfortable feeling I've had. And I'd look at maybe like their content posts, and I'd see a message from a potential client for them. And the prospective person would be like, hey, how can I best get in touch with you? And I'd be like, did you actually reply to this person? This was sent over a week ago. They were like, no, I didn't. I forgot about it. And I'm like, wow, isn't this interesting? And this right here, this level of uncomfortable that we all feel, is what I truly believe holds people back from filling their potential. We know often what we need to do, but something in us, some invisible force, stops us from actually doing it. And this begs a more serious question. How many times has this force gone completely undetected, where I self-sabotage myself to the point of not being able to achieve my goals? Maybe if I was a robot and didn't have emotions, I'd be a lot further along than what I am currently right now if I could just act logically and not respond emotionally to these things. Now let's talk next about the practical steps that we need to take to actually overcome this. And let's explore some of Sam's advice as well. So from my perspective, the very first step that we need to take is to actually acknowledge that this is happening to us and become aware of it. If we're not aware of it, then we won't be able to stop it, right? We need to become aware of it to know that it's very real, to be able to stop it. And if you have had like a moderate level of success, and suddenly you are getting very uncomfortable, suddenly you are, find yourself in this loop of not pursuing this success any further, actually something's holding you back from your goals, ask yourself, what is happening right now? Then step number 2, reassure yourself that this is in fact normal. Everyone experiences it. Even people who are multi-millionaires like Sam Ovens, he's went through this stage as well. Understand that the longer you stay uncomfortable, that the easier it is to actually stay comfortable in that zone. So again, picture that rubber band, right? And imagine that you've got that pressure and that resistance at either end of the scale there, trying to force you back in the middle. You keep holding your hands like that for a while, it's going to be uncomfortable, but the rubber band will stretch just a little bit, right? Then you actually want to push that rubber band 10% more. And it's important that you don't snap it. But what we're trying to do here is we're trying to stay in the uncomfortable zone and actually push our limits a little bit more in that uncomfortable zone, which stretches our character, it stretches the rubber band, right? And then when next time you get to that area, it's a bit easier to get to that area. You have a foundation to build on. And then once that becomes normal, you can then push it 10% more. And this is the building blocks of the foundation. And as Sam Ovens says, with gradual repetition, over time and consistency is the way to increase that boundary and to start getting comfortable with the person that you are becoming and have to become to accomplish these goals. And then suddenly these goals, inch by inch, become a bit more in reach, because each time we're moving 10% more, we're never snapping the elastic band, so we're never just moving quite back to the original position, but instead we are actually, continuing just to push the limits a little bit, not too much, because we all realize we're humans, right? Most humans don't just jump in the deep end of the pool when they haven't been able to swim or learn about how to swim yet, right? They need to paddle a bit in the shallow end before they are comfortable moving to the deep end. So think about things like that. So I hope you really found this video interesting and helpful. And if you did find it interesting and helpful, please subscribe to get some more content like this. And what I would challenge you to do right now is actually to write in the comments things which you are uncomfortable doing right now, and then also challenge yourself to write a line about what it is you are going to do today. And we can almost have the comment section on this video like almost like an accountability area for each other to all help us achieve our goals, because that's really how we do it, is we build each other up and we always make sure we push our own boundaries. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Let me know what you think and have a great day.